Hey guys, Karaito here, and I'm doing a video on my Gimmick Puppet deck build because basically it's now completed. There's only just a few cards that are in here that are going to be changed, and that's really all, and I'll tell you which ones are going to be changed and which ones are not. Okay, so let's start off with this first. The monsters. We're playing 3 Machina Cannons. Okay. This card's really good because you can discard any machine type monsters in your hand, any number of them. You just have to discard at least one, and you can just special summon him. So he's a really good level 8 easy summoner. You've got Machina Fortress. This guy's pretty old, and basically he was good in gadgets back in the day. And now he's good in Gimmick Puppets because you can just discard a level 8 Dreary Doll and special summon the guy. And he's a 25 beater, and whenever he's destroyed by battle, you can destroy one of your opponent's cards, and whenever he's targeted by a monster effect, I think it's controlled by your opponent. Yeah, it's by your opponent. So basically what happens is before his monster effect resolves, you get to discard one random card from your opponent's hand, which is Fortress's effect. And you've got Gear Frame, the Searcher, searches you out any of the Machinas. Gimmick Puppet Shadow Feeler, you only need one of him. 3 Magnet Dolls, really easy to spam out. Shadow Feeler can be special summoned when you take direct damage by attack, and he can just pay 1,000. Well, actually no, he gets special summoned and then you take 1,000. You don't pay it from before, you take it after, which is actually pretty funny because you can actually find a way to make it so you don't take damage. Like, forget what that one Perform Mage is called, but it's the Xyz, and you wouldn't take damage. But you've got the 3 Magnet Dolls. If you control something like a Shadow Feeler or any Gimmick Puppet monster, and also you can only control Gimmick Puppet monsters when you have this in your hand and you're going to use its effect. You can't like have a Machina card with a Gimmick Puppet. You actually, it's when you control Gimmick Puppet monsters, so they all have to be Gimmick Puppet monsters, and your opponent at least has one monster. You can special summon like any number of these any amount of times. It's not even once per turn. It's just bam, special summon from the hand. So it's that simple. 3 Dreary Dolls. This is like a Plague Spreader basically, but just different. You banish a card in your graveyard that's a Gimmick Puppet card, and I think it's it's a monster. So you just banish a Gimmick Puppet monster and bring this back in defense or attack. It has 0 attack and 0 defense, but really easy to Xyz summon with this. As you can see, this one Dreary Doll has gone through a rough time because this is actually my very first Dreary Doll. I've had this since I was like around maybe 15, 14. Like, I was pretty young when I had this, and I'm 18 now, so. And here's Egghead. You only need one of him. He's a -1 for any of his effects because you're discarding a Gimmick Puppet monster from your hand to use them. But he's like a Gaga Cowboy. You can finish off your opponent if he has 800 or less life points, so he's pretty good. And then his other effect is he can become level 8. So you can just go for an Xyz summon if you have Dreary Doll in your hand and you have an extra Gimmick Puppet in your graveyard. 1 Scissor Arms. This is my favorite all-time Gimmick Puppet. And as you guys know, if you've been on my channel before, this is my YouTube picture, is Gimmick Puppet Scissor Arms. So yeah, all-time favorite. Whenever he's normal summoned, you just send 1 Gimmick Puppet monster from your deck to the graveyard. 3 Humpty Dumpties. Whenever he's normal or special summon 1 Gimmick Puppet from your hand, and you can only use 1 once per turn. Funny thing is you can use Machine Dupe on him and summon 2 more from the deck. So he's actually pretty good for rank 4 spam. And then the 2 Gear Changers. They become any level of a Gimmick Puppet on the field, and as you can see, they're really old as well. We want to spell Soul Charge. Very, very good card in this deck. Just, like, special summon as many monsters as you want, but you take the life points after you special summon all those monsters. My really platinum rare Foolish Burial is actually, I got this just today. It was around $10 for this Foolish Burial, and I really wanted it because I've never had a platinum rare before, so I just wanted to see what it was like, and it's actually pretty cool. If you guys were here, you could see this, but I don't know if you can see that, but it basically becomes like a black background in the back, and it just looks like a hand's just sticking out from darkness and just with a shovel. You can't actually see the ground sometimes if you look at it at a right angle. But yeah, platinum rare, that was my very first one I ever got. Limited removal. Everybody should know this card, just double any machines basically is attack, and very good for finishing off your opponent. Mystical Space Typhoon, I think I only need one of these because Castel already gets rid of face up cards, so yeah, why have two? And it really got cloggy when I was running 3, and 2, it was still kind of cloggy. So I took it down to 1, and it's now pretty easy. Machine duplication, very, very worth it to have in gimmicks, I think, because you can just special summon 2 Dreary Dolls from your deck, or 2 Humpty Dumptys from the deck. 2 Supply Squads. When a monster, if a monster you control is destroyed by battle or by card effect, draw 1 card. So it's a mandatory, and it's an if, not when, so pretty good. And 2 of those, so basically if I have 2 of these face up on the field, and one of my monsters is destroyed by battle, I get to draw 2 cards. And it's continuous as well, so it just stays there. 2 Upstart Goblins, I just got these in a trade, and as you can see, they're pretty old ones too. Like, the text boxes are here not white, they're clear, and if you guys ever played old Yu-Gi-Oh, there is a difference. So as you can see, the text box here is like really, really like white, and you can't really see through it. With these you can see through it, like, and it looks kind of older. That's how you tell if a card is older or not, if you want to go for appearances. So yeah, 3 trade-ins. This is automatically the best draw power of the deck. You can just discard a Dreary Doll or any level 8 for that with trade-in, and just draw 2 cards. 3 Junk Puppets. This is like a Monster Reborn for Gimmick Puppets. You can only use one once per turn, but it's target 1 Gimmick Puppet in the graveyard and special summon it. And then 3 Rank Up Magic Argent Chaos Forces. This is the best rank up I have ever seen. When the game came out with the rank up magics, you could just, whenever a rank 5 or higher exceeds monster special summon to your side of the field, you can just add it back once per duel to your hand. And that's what was insane about it, which that's why I'm running 3 of these, because so far it's worked pretty well for me, and they get recycled. And I'm about to show you a trap card that's pretty new that not a lot of Gimmick Puppet users like to play, but I do. Solemn Warning, of course. Always need one of those. Bombless, of course. And finally, for the last card, Marshalling Field. This card is really good with Gimmick Puppets. Nobody really likes to play with this card that I've seen. Like, I've seen Gimmick Puppet users play Royal Decree, or Bombless, or Solemn, or Call the Haunted, but they don't play Marshalling Field. In my opinion, this card is really good for what it's worth. Once per turn, you can declare any level from 5, and I think it's, yeah, to 9, 5 to 9. All machine type monsters you can control become that level. And not only that, if a machine type exceeds monster were to be destroyed, you can send this card to the graveyard instead. And if this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can add 1 Rank Up Magic Argent Chaos Force from your deck or graveyard to your hand. So it legit searches out the rank up. And in my opinion, that is pretty good for searching for a rank up spell that could make you win the game. 1 Castel, the Sky Blaster. Like I said this before, it's like my other mystical, except it only targets face up cards. 1 Gear Guy X, pretty good, pretty good. Coach King, basically you can just detach all his materials, draw a card, and if they're monsters, you inflict 800 to your opponent. Oh, and by the way, guys, this just lets you search out any level 4 machine if that's really what you wanted to know. The two Galaxy Eyes, Prime and Neo. Yeah, I have these cards in here because it's quite obvious. If I'm versing an Xyz person and they got a full board of Xyz, I could basically win the game with this card. And if they only have like 2 Xyz or 1 Xyz that's really high rank, but I can still do stuff, I can just summon him and do a lot of damage. 2 Giant Grinders, this should be pretty easy. Just main, just detach, target an Xyz monster your opponent controls, destroy it. Well, it's a special summon monster, but if it's an Xyz monster, they take damage, so yeah. But usually you just play this when you want to get rid of something. 2 40s, this card is pretty swell for what it does. You can just detach 1 Xyz material. All face-up monsters except him get string counters. And then, during their end phase, your opponent's end phase, all monsters get destroyed with string counters on them, and you inflict 500 for each one destroyed to your opponent. 1 number 88 Gimmick Puppet of Leo. He's pretty good. He's been my favorite Xyz since Gimmick Puppets ever came out, because he could just let you win duels. And frankly, I never knew why they didn't put him on the ban list, because Victory Dragon's on the ban list. And his effect lets you win duels, but Victory Dragon only lets you win matches. So I still don't know why Victory Dragon's on the ban list, and he's still at 3. It just doesn't make much sense. CXYZ Coach Lord Ultimate Trainer. Basically, this guy cannot be targeted by card effects, so you can't really target him with anything. But you can detach and draw a card, and if it's a monster, you inflict 800. And so far, it's pretty well, because you just use a rank up and summon him. And he just does a lot for you, because he can just let the draw power happen. And you've got C15, so you just detach an Xyz material, target 1 card your opponent controls. If it's a monster, they take damage to it. 2 C40s. So when you would put string counters on him, if you summon him before you end your turn, you can summon him. All monsters with string counters then get destroyed. They go sent to your graveyard. And then you draw a card, and then you inflict damage equal to the highest monster's attack in the graveyard. If you guys want to know a little tip of what this card's really good for, if you don't like Yangzings, play Gimmick Puppets when you go to like one of those tournaments that you just know that people like to play Yangzings. Because if you actually put string counters on all those face-up Yangzings and use this, it'll make them miss timing. Because most of the Yangzings say when they're destroyed, you can. And since this says then, it will make them miss the timing, right? So you just blew up a whole field of Yangzings, and usually your opponent's going to be like, okay, I'm going to use the effect. But if you know this by now, they're going to miss timing, and you basically just won yourself the duel because you can attack them directly. So, and then 1 C88. Gimmick Puppet Disaster Leo. I love this card. He is still my favorite Xyz monster, because you can just detach, inflict 1,000 damage, so he's even better than a Gaga Cowboy in damage. All you need to do is, he can't be special summoned by other ways. That's the only bad thing about him. He can't be special summoned by other ways, but it doesn't really matter, because you can special summon him just by targeting Leo with a rank up magic spell card, which is really easy to do. And then he cannot be targeted by card effects. So can't be 101, can't be castelled. And yeah, he also lets you win because during your end phase, if your opponent's life points are 2,000 or less and this card has no Xyz material, you win the duel. Really easy to do, because one of the tips is you just have Leo in the graveyard, use Junk Puppet, bring back Leo, use a rank up, summon him, use his effect, and if your opponent actually only has 2,000 or lower life points, and since he only had 1 material, you win the duel instantly. Just right when you end your turn, you just win the duel. And that's what I like about it. He can't be Effect Veilered either, so don't even be like, oh, well, what happens if he uses Effect Veiler? No, he can't be targeted by card effects, so Effect Veiler is not going to stop him. So, yeah, he can still be destroyed by Mirror Force and stuff like that, you know, stuff that doesn't target. but so far he's really good for what he's worth. Okay guys, so that's it for the rest of my video. I hope this gave you some tips on how to make a perfect Gimmick deck. One of the things I was meant to switch out was Mystical Space Typhoon. I meant to switch it out with Twin Twisters, but that's all I'm going to do once I get Twin Twisters. But that's the only card I'm switching out of there. I don't need 3 upstarts. If you guys are about to say that, I don't need 3. There's so much draw power in the deck already, in my opinion, that if I put 3 upstarts, it's only just going to give my opponent more life points. And I don't really need this in that deck. But just tell me what your thoughts are about my deck in the comments below. Hope you guys have a swell day, and Cry Ato is out.